Now, this week, Boris Johnson pointed out something that I have talked about for some time, but none of our politicians have dared address, because it's, frankly, not in their interest to do so. Why? Well, why try to solve a problem that you won't be in office long enough to fix? And even if it does get fixed, which you won't be around to take the credit for, even though you started it. The short-term myopic nature of politics in this country allows our politicians to sidestep long-standing issues that affect you and I, so they can focus on short-term wins that will carry favour and win them votes. They actually don't really need to look at the big picture, because they can either blame their failure on their predecessor, or they can claim that they didn't have the time to fix the problem. Now, in Boris's speech this week at Sizewell, he spoke about the energy crisis. He said this.
Is the problem. It's called myopia. It's called short-termism. It's a chronic case of politicians not being able to see beyond the political cycle.
He went on to say, it's a chronic case of politicians, as you heard there, not being able to see beyond the cycle, which is exactly what I said. And then he said, it is because of that kind of myopia that here in this country, that first split the atom, we had only 15% of our electricity from nuclear, and it is failing, whereas in France, it is at 70%. Let's take the NHS. We're being told, don't go to A&E. Have you ever heard anything so ridiculous? You can't get a GP appointment, so where else are you meant to go? Why are they saying this? Because of woeful mismanagement over decades and the different policies implemented by successive health secretaries, even from the same party. In 4 years, we've had 4 politicians failing to address issues adequately and then leaving office. The NHS is in a mess as a result, and so far, neither of the candidates have, in my view, adequately explained how they're going to fix it. Today I read a story in the Telegraph about Margaret Morgan. Now, by all counts, she was pretty fit. She was 77. She was a retired GP's receptionist. She died of a stroke after waiting hours for an ambulance. Her daughter, Julia, said Michael and Mum were laughing and joking in the kitchen when all of a sudden she started talking gobbledygook and fainted. Now, Michael, Margaret's partner, called an ambulance and was told that it would be about a 4 to 6 hour wait. So he then rang her daughter, Julia, who lives 40 miles away. She arrived. They then called for an ambulance again. After an hour, the first responders arrived, and then, after another hour, the ambulance. Unfortunately, the paramedic driving it was not allowed to drive under blue light conditions, so the ambulance had to take a diversion, pick up someone who could, so that they could drive through the rush hour traffic to get Margaret, who had been unconscious throughout, to hospital. And even when they arrived there, there weren't any specialist doctors on call. So they had to email her tests over to someone in Australia, which ironically came back quite quickly. It had taken them almost 4 hours to get to hospital, and sadly, Margaret did not regain consciousness and she passed away. Her daughter said, I think that she had a massive stroke and that was it. Perhaps that's just what I want to think. This constant changing of the guard has affected the services that we hold dear. Health, utilities, education, transport, housing. It's a joke. You can't get a dentist, you can't get a GP, and you can't go to A&E, and you'll be lucky if you get an ambulance. It's costing lives.